Welcome to another Costume Confidential. I'm Mona May, and today I'm so excited to welcome costume designer Michael Ground and specialty costume designer Laura Jean Shannon to talk about their incredible collaboration on Prime Video's The Boys. From its iconic superhero looks to its dark, outrageous, and completely original world, the costumes are such a huge part of what makes The Boys so memorable. Michael and LJ, welcome, and congratulations on your Emmy nomination.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much. It's not really my genre in a way, but I just get so sucked into this show. It's so cinematic. It's so fun. It's real. It's authentic, but it's funny. And I mean, the whole, political thing behind it. I mean, there's just so many layers to this show. I'm just so excited to talk to both of you because, I think it's so interesting in this kind of show. How do you work together? I mean, it's such a huge show. I mean, being a costume designer, I can't even imagine. And having to have, everything function and work and have, multiples and blood and testings and like, it's just wild. AJ, you started from the beginning, right? With Eric?
Yes, I was actually Eric Kripke's very first hire. Recently, he wrote me that we were just two people in a rowboat that then turned into an ocean liner of artists. And I almost want to cry when I think of that visual because he called me really in early days, having never worked on a superhero genre project before. And he really, really wanted it to be a legitimate superhero universe. He wanted it to have the same sort of weight, gravitas, pedigree as the cinematic costume superhero universes that exist. So it was really exciting to be there right at the ground level and discuss with him, how to approach it in a way where we could. And by the way, I just have to say really quickly, it's so great that you're our interviewer because being interviewed by a fellow costume designer who really understands what we do and understands the scope of what we do, like what you just said was just already so my heart was like, "Ah," because it's so gratifying to have somebody who has been there recognize the magnitude of what is expected of us as costume designers on any project, let alone one where we have this really giant world building show that's grounded in reality, but also has to have these very large and highly conceptual characters, residing within it in a way that, it was always Eric's desire to have it just be commonplace. Like people are this is an alternate reality where people are living in a world where superheroes walk amongst us. And so that provided us the opportunity to collaborate. For me, one of the greatest things about our show is that we've really captured lightning in a bottle right across the board with all of the artists. We all love each other. It's a true work family. Like when you sit and you listen to the actors, even just have conversations in their panels, they're all such brilliant people and everybody really cares so much. So to be able to collaborate with Michael as fellow designers and really have each other's backs, it's just such a gift. It really creates an environment where neither of us ever feels overwhelmed in a way where we can't get the job done and get it done to the quality, that is expected of us because we have each other.
How do you guys divide the work? Are you in the same city? Are you in the same building? Or how does that work? How do you conceptualize it? Because you probably get the characters, maybe the main ones early.
I'm actually talking with Eric before the writer's room has even opened sometimes, about how many characters, we think we're going to introduce for a season. And then luckily we have this body of work from so many seasons where we can say well, probably a Homelander-esque level, and then a Soldier Boy level, and then maybe a Crimson Countess level, and then he and I talk about which characters have a long lifespan. And then part of why I'm now called a specialty costume designer and I'm an associate producer as opposed to the super suits costume designer, which I used to be called, is because Mikey actually takes on a lot of the day player superheroes. And does an amazing job with the characters that only have a one or two episode lifespan. And he came in season 3 and season 3 was honestly, it makes all other seasons of our show look like a cakewalk.
I don't think I was home before midnight. A single night of season 3, and I was probably at the office at 6 in the morning.
Trial by fire, baby.
Yeah. It was COVID too. It was like, well,
Okay, there was nothing else to do.
My super suits factory is in Burbank. So, I actually live on a farm in central New York, so I do a lot of my conceptual work with my concept artists. Like, code was a no-brainer for me because I had already done a lot of my work, sort of remotely with my team and had developed ways of doing that. So, I start the concepts in my pajamas, not bathing for like 3 days in a row, downloading the information to the concept artist and like getting those characters up and running. And then I move myself to Los Angeles where we build all of the costumes. And then I come to Toronto for the beginning of the production to train up my local team on all of the specific, things about the costumes because the super suits, we don't have a film budget. We can only build, a certain amount of suits. And so, like, for instance, with Sister Sage, she's made out of silk. So we had to build like 5 for her because otherwise we would be really hooped. But, Homelander, he has a full musculature that's built underneath of his suit. We could only really afford to build a few of them out of the gate. And then each subsequent season, we retire them into blood gags and build a few new ones. And so by the end of the run, we have like 4 hero suits that he can wear, but it's a constant battle for the team to like make sure that the suits are refurbished and the battle scars are healed, or we're creative and we create battle scars that are more like appliques that we can take on and off again so that we're not completely blowing through our suits. There's a lot of blood testing and cleaning testing and all of that stuff as well. But then Michael has his team, and then my team is the super suits team, and they sort of support each other, but also work sort of separately as well.
Yeah, the whole explosion of the heads and the blood and the gore, I was like, how is this? I mean, is it at all like CG, blood? Or is it like, I mean, I'm sure you're dealing with like CG, VFX. Do you do a lot of testing?
so yeah, no, the testing is next level. Like we are most of the time in a fitting, you get to the right spot with the character where Eric signed off, and then the fittings begin with special effects, VFX, stunts. A lot of the time, a producer in the room, and the fittings go on for quite a while, and we all make sure that it's not just a costume. The costume has to perform functionality, or Kamiko's got to be able to her head's got to be turned around backwards. So you've got to build a bodysuit that makes her look like her back is her front. And that was a fun 1 a.m. fitting one night with the whole team and such amazing people on the team that we all support each other and we all, want to find the best possible way to make it go off as seamlessly as possible and to use as much actual fake blood and then pivot to VFX for the stuff that we just can't.
We built everything practically. And we're also always thinking about how we can make things better. Like we might have a great amount of success throughout our, half a dozen fittings that we do over the course of several months with our actors. But then they get onto set and we realize like, oh, they can't pee very easily, even though we thought they could when they had all the time in the world. So, like for instance, Stormfront season 2, we just chopped her suit in half halfway through the season so that she could have easier access and just hid the, zipper with the belt. So we're always, the team's always thinking about how to do things better and we're always coordinating. For instance, there might be like Sister Sage again is a great example of a suit that really doesn't like many types of blood, but there is one that kind of we can get out of it. So we share what that is with the FX people, and then they provide that blood on the day so that we're not blowing through a suit if we don't have to. It's a total bloodbath. Like what you see is what we do. And then our VFX people are like the most talented in the industry. Like they're the best and they make things look completely seamless and incredible. But like we give them a lot of practical cues to work with.
Do you seal at all anything? Like, do you put any kind of coating? Or, I mean, is there a way at
You
all?
lose the luster. Every single solitary one of the suits has a different build philosophy. Like, however we've built it, all of the fabrics are custom. So even if we start with like hers is an Armani silk, we then customize it with high density screen printing with our repeat Sister Dr. Sage logo we created. And so everything you do, it reacts differently. So like Mikey was saying, it's all like just tons of testing. Like our textile artists do all kinds of tests in early days before we even build the suit. Like as we're building the suit, we're testing the fabrics, and there's certain things that we fall in love with that we say, you know what, as great as it is, it needs to be more robust. So what can we do, that will create something that's just a little bit more robust for that particular character. I'm always thinking ahead about the set team. I'm like, okay, how can we make this easier for the set team? Because on the day, everything is moving so fast. We don't want camera waiting for us. Every one of these suits, we time the actors as they're dressing in them so that we get it down to 15 minutes. So nobody can say like, oh, we're waiting on super suits, because they're not.
Impressive, seriously, with zippers and everything and belts and the gauntlets and the thing, and then wow, it looks amazing. I mean, there's some artistry, and I think there's like fashion in there. I think you came from fashion, Michael, right, too, and like, I love that part too. I watch for it. I want it to be cool. I want it to be something like, okay, it's not just a superhero. Maybe it could walk the runway in Paris or something.
I pull like myself, and I've always pulled. It's from that late 90s, the Belgians, that's always my kind of baseline, the vintage Hummelang. And then we kind of go from that, because I think it gives such a clean, simple, beautiful line. I never want people to be staring at the costume. I want them to be staring at the acting and appreciate the costume along with it. To me, it should never, especially on a show like this, it should be all about the character.
But it's alive. I mean, even look at this beautiful jacket we're looking at now. Look at the slate tone. It's really pretty. And there's, again, some shine to it. There's always something that you guys are little mavericks about.
There's never a multiple that comes from the store to the set. It's like, oh, you need another multiple? That's fine. But there's a 36-hour process. With Butcher, we started, as things got darker in the story for him, and we started really kind of over-dyeing, like gently over-dyeing. And then we started pulling the color out and giving it this nicotine rotten feel. A lot of pulling color, a lot of trial and error, because it doesn't always end. And then just gently going through stages of having extra shirts that we used the fabric for to sample, and, passing it by Carl and passing it by Eric, and making sure everybody's on the same page and just getting to the perfect patina. Again, none of the shirts are off the rack. They are completely taken apart and completely put back together in the hero pattern.
I mean, that's what I love too. I mean, when I get even 99 cents costume, I just make it like it's, perfect tailoring, and it looks like, okay, now this is couture, and it fits, and it's a high style in the end. And I think that kind of level of detail, my head goes to you, because on TV is very difficult.
I find there's days where I'm like, I didn't leave the office, and I look down and I'm like, I did 20,000 steps in a circle. Build, breakdown, sewing, build, breakdown, sewing, set, build, breakdown, sewing, set.
That's amazing. And I also want to say something about you being a producer. And I think that's so cool, because there's only, you and Lou Arik who are producers. And I think, this is the recognition of these type of showrunners and people who are artists, who really get it, what it takes and what we bring to the table. We've been always fighting this in our profession, that we are making less money, and, we just wash the clothes. I don't know, whatever that is, So this is such a great
Yeah, I,
honor.
I feel really just so grateful, honestly, when Mikey and I got the text messages the day that we were nominated for the Emmy for our final season of The Boys. I mean, we were both like bawling, because just for it to be on this show where there's so much, the level of respect is so high for the work that we do, that they made me a producer, that they trusted me to find Mikey, that they then just adopted Mikey like as my brother and their son and their brother. And like thank you for all of the things that you are noticing that we have put our minds to create. Really, it's such a great group of people who really do honor what we do. It's symbiotic.
If the seamstress doesn't sew it right, it falls apart on the set. I mean, it's all the set people who have to be there, early morning, and zip these guys in and help them out,
Yeah,
and
and it's not an easy show, as you can imagine.
set the different blood and the different techniques of the blood,
And long days and lots of units. It's like doing a film for like a year straight.
It's doing a feature a month.
I was reading something about the Homelander eagle that you created. I mean, the messages within the messages, the little
Yeah,
secret.
lots of Easter eggs. There's always going to be a fan base with anything that comes from source material,
Which is a challenge, but also
but
some.
kind of a fun one, you know? Like it's important to me to make sure that you like give the fans just enough that they can sink their teeth into while having your own, new fresh approach that suits the project at hand.
I mean, it's got to kind of be the universe that they expect. The DNA.
What you probably read, it's funny because with the Eagles, his belt, for instance, is completely based off of Nazi iconography. It's nothing that anybody's supposed to notice until basically right now when we're done. But then once you see it, you can't unsee it. He's like all American, but is he? He's really a fascist.
Every moment something is happening, and it's a visual feast. Is it? You'll get scared. There's every emotion when you're watching the show.
By the way, so do we, and we know what's coming. Like in the episode that we were nominated for, like when Frenchie died, honestly, I was hyperventilating crying.
I love Oh Father, right? Talk about that character,
And
please.
his angels. I was able to pop back and forth a couple times this season. I'm always on virtually in the meetings and stuff. But Michael has the good fortune of getting to like physically be there for the rehearsals that I don't always get to be a part of. But he definitely texted me a video of this rehearsal. And I mean, I probably watched it 450 times. My phone practically broke. Like David Diggs and what he brings to this character, he's so unbelievably charismatic.
The way he moves in this car.
He was there for it, like, from day one, and I mean, to the point where he had all of these great ideas. He's like, "I think I need a Bible. Like, I think I need a custom Bible," and we're like, "You got it." And then he knew exactly which Bible he wanted it to be, in terms of which version of the Bible, and it was just such a joy to create this outlandish character with this, like, elegant man and then watch him, like, turn into and transform into him. And it was really fun too that Eric really wanted us to go there with this character. I mean, obviously, look at the Angels. It was the one time with Eric Kripke. He's a good Midwestern man who tends to shy away from things that are a little too gaudy and ostentatious. It was the one time where he was like, "Can't you give me like more sparkle? Like we need more bling." And I'm like, "You got it. I'm gonna bring it."
And Michael, good job with the short shorts, the little garter belts. I mean, it's just like everything. It
was so much. Honestly, that day when I was sending LJ videos, my assistant designers were like, "Is everything okay there? Good with the rehearsal day?" I'm like, I don't want to leave. I just want to stay on set and watch the rehearsals for hours.
And we were so fortunate too because Michael and I both flew to LA for what I refer to as the Victory Tour, which was like a week and a half of the finale event, which our amazing Amazon team did such an incredible job creating this. Like it was basically like going to a film premiere. And then there were all of these different FYC events where we got to meet fans and our costumes were on display and the actors did panels and we did panels. And I'm so glad that we were able to celebrate this particular show in that way because it means so much to all of us. And spoilers, we got to also see David perform that song, which has also been nominated for an Emmy, that song that she was a co-writer on at a couple of the events. It's a good song, by the way. It's like an earworm. I can't get out of my head once I hear it.
But tell me how you went there because it's so gaudy. I mean, it's so like, we were talking about high taste.
My friend Lucy, who I used to assist years ago on commercials, she said to me one time, you can make a character who's like over the top, but you still need to have it be elegant so that you like it. And so it's like this fine line of like, yes, we can bedazzle it. And Salpy on my team, man, she loves to bedazzle. But it has to be done in a way where there's an elegance. And so we did a lot of research in ecclesiastical stuff, which I love. And then we mixed that with James Brown. The pompadour was something that I actually put in the concept art and luckily had made it to the character. And then we have these amazing subcontracting vendors, our friend Harut, who can literally do anything with fabric. So we have this combination of high density screen printing, foiling. We did laser printing with like a sparkle fabric underneath, and then we bedazzled it. So it was like we just threw all of the tricks that we could at this character to enhance the richness of the, prince meets a priest.
So you're doing all this beautiful job, you're doing the foiling, you're doing this, and then it has to move. It's white. I mean, how many, do you have to make? I mean, it's all of that. The functionality never cannot leave your brain.
I mean, I love a good challenge. People ask me all the time, well, what's the hardest thing you did? And I'm like, I love a challenge. So like I don't think of it that way. Like if something's difficult, that's what I'm here for. I don't want to just say something's good enough. I love always thinking about exactly what you said. Like we knew we wanted it white. So how do we make it white but also cool? Like he had to be sexy, which is not hard with David, but
It's the fine line that a lot of times I think we walk it as designers, like how do you do something that's really big, but you make it at a level that's, elegant and expresses everything you want to express.
yeah, let the writing be funny, not how they.
You know what? I love what you said about learning and stuff. I love technology. Like I got to do Stuart Little many years ago and I never knew anything about designing CG costumes. And it's such a fun part, I think, for us as designer to learn new things and, really dive into it. It just, you have such a bigger perspective on things and how you can make things. And, you can incorporate the civilians and the superheroes together, knowing that stuff.
And there's been a huge amount of help actually from technology getting better. Like first season, Ant's Homelander suit was not nearly as comfortable and lightweight as it is by the time we reached season 3 when like he came on. It's been a fun ride to be able to tap into that and always be looking to make things better.
Oh my God, the deep is just like, by the way, his gauntlets. I want the pair. I want to go up.
I know a guy. My favorite story about him is when we started doing his fittings and, he looked amazing because he's beautiful. He's a beautiful man. But his stunt guy came in. I like to bring the stunt guys and their, the actors in together whenever possible. It's great to see them proportionally next to each other. And his stunt guy, had really big guns. And so it came time for camera tests. He walks in, our actor, with his giant guns because he got the memo. He was like, "Oh, I'm sleeveless. I'm bringing it." And the stunt guy looked at him like, "Oh snap!" and started like doing pull ups and like push ups. So those rippling veins, they're for real.
Let's talk a little bit about the episode you were nominated for because there's just so much there too. You have the warm and you have the teenage kicks girls. We may have to talk about the tracksuit.
The tracksuit we knew we wanted him in a tracksuit. We knew we wanted that guy. I think we had pretty much every tracksuit online from available in the stores.
Designer to Amazon, probably.
Exactly. It was like, I had a $6,000 tracksuit. I had a $12 tracksuit. And it just wasn't hitting. It just wasn't hitting at all. Again, it was another late night down a rabbit hole. And I was like, so we started printing fabric the next morning.
Did you have a logo in mind or what kind of triggered you?
I wanted just to go with that like LA underbelly. It's like that guy that doesn't know if it's the $6,000 tracksuit or the $12 tracksuit, nor could he tell. So much fun to work with Jared.
He pulled it off. You can make it, but if he's not wearing it, it's wearing him. It's the street fashion. It's something that's real that like it hits all the high notes, but also the kind of, the gritty notes. You want to have that kind of gritty, grounded universe. A little bit of humor,
Honestly, it's the one thing that I still am like, why didn't I grab one of those tracksuits?
You could have worn it to the Emmys.
Oh my God. I mean, even the teenage kicks were fun. I like their little pink and the little, it's all.
Oh yeah, they were really fun. I got to do She Line, which was awesome. I loved her. And then Mikey did the other kicks.
The flight suit. And then it was like, and that was a whole new thing for us too with the branding. I started getting these emails and I was like, what are we doing? And then I was like, oh, okay, no, this is our new world. Okay. So it was like, so then it was, designing, especially with Jetstreak and designing the hashtags and the handles as well. And it was, it was a lot
really fun. Yeah.
fun back and forth. And then they actually work.
Sarah, my associate specialty costume designer, was like, what if we did like a QR code tattoo? So Sheline has a little QR code tattoo that if you do your, it actually brings you to a Teenage Kicks page. It was so much fun because these were younger characters and so it was much more about that whole like TikTok social media. Our whole ride, we've been riding this wave of the unchecked power of the superheroes, but who are being monetized because of, this corporate greed. And so it was fun to then dive into the younger characters and, how that would manifest with the teenage kicks. It was just, more poppy, bright colors, things that were just overtly sexual. We created these fabrics for Sheline that are like see through. It was really a breath of fresh air actually to do something very, poppy. And I love what Michael did with his character, like how he then took that cue because we were able to start working on Sheline, like months before Mikey was able to start his prep. What he, sort of took from the kernel of the idea of this advertising for Jetstream was I just love all of that. And you guys made all those patches in house, didn't you?
Everything. We made them all in house. And Dylan, who played Jetstreak, was such a trooper. I think he was flying back and forth to Toronto like twice a week for the day. Off the plane, let's fit you for the day, send you home. He was living in Montreal all the time.
Our actress that plays Sheline was also from Montreal.
Jetstreak, it was one morning and we all had looked at the costume and the leg, those insert leg pieces, it was probably about 12 hours before camera. And I was like, oh, that one's backwards. But it had gone through all the sets of hands. It was all like ready to go. And I was like, oh, it's backwards.
I remember getting a last minute codpiece conference call as well about it. My Santa on Elf, they sewed all of his sleeves on opposite the first time they got delivered.
It's all good as long as it's caught right before it goes on camera.
Yeah, exactly. And the other challenge we have, what I went through with Sheline,
Bitterly cold.
not only cold, but also we have to be really conscientious about not stepping on any existing characters' toes from other universes. So you could imagine what I went through when we were discussing a cat-like character. When I say that we did upwards of 45 mask studies because we knew that we wanted to have a sculpted element on her face, to have it feel very much, like she's an elevated superhero character. But there were so many, the notes were so specific because everything that we do, we have to go through these approval processes, first with our showrunner, then with our executive producers, then with Sony, then with Amazon, then with legal. And everything needs to be cleared legally before we can actually build it and put it on their bodies. That's why the concept art is so important because we have to dial it in so that when we build the actual suits, which we don't, which we have a limited time, especially Michael has a limited time to actually create these pieces.
How much time do you have?
I think I had a couple of weeks on Jetstreak. But, my team in Toronto is, they've become so proficient and, where we can't always get our fabrics done with Haru in LA. They've come up with such ingenious ideas on how to recreate the process and really make it work. And they're always very excited for it. One of my assistant designers was like, let's just start printing our own patches. And I was like, oh, okay. But then he's got the embroidery machine going on his desk while he's doing his other work. Again, at night, and we need something for the morning.
Well, and Ray's so amazing that you made him one of your assistant designers because he's a very amazing builder. So he comes from specialty building. So it's genius that Michael has him as an ACD now as well. I always say I'm only as good as the company I keep. And it's so freaking true. And finding Mikey season 3 was like the silver bullet of us having a collaborative process that really worked for Eric. And then bringing to that our combined awesome teams because everybody on our teams are wonderful people and incredibly talented people that show up with a great attitude. So we're just so fortunate.
It feels like safety. There's safety net too, kind of like go on a whim sometimes and like, but I know it's going to work out and, people are going to catch me or whatever that is. And then they can also add layers of creativity to it.
That's why it's so fun what we do.
Kim, who was my assistant designer for 22 years, is now a co-designer. If I'm not there, Kim can step in, look at a rack, and fit that person from my brain.
The last people, even the smallest parts are so important, to
Everything matters. Every detail matters.
it's such a good testament to also being good leaders. I think it's important to be good leaders and share the knowledge. And I think, like you bringing up, Michael, and then Michael, you bring up your assistant. I think all of that really is great to, support other artists as well. Again, it's all learning in the end.
I learned from them, it's like we're on a project right now, and there was a very quick pivot on a very big specialty costume, and I was like, well, let's do this. And then I came back and they're like, well, we did this. And I'm like, and that's way better.
I love that we are in a collaborative art form, that we're able to support each other with our knowledge. And I'm always open to what their thoughts are. It's important to give people that space to bring their ideas to the table, because just think about how much more amazing what we do is by staying open to doing it with other people, and having all of these ideas and combinations. It's that ocean liner of artists.
The
About
beautiful analogy, yeah. There's just so many kind of layers. I think that universe is just very rich and fun. And I think that's why the show has been such a great success. I have to tell you, I wasn't never watched The Boys, and I'm like the fan.
Thank you so much for watching, and it's such a delight to talk to you about it, because you're saying so many things about it that it's very gratifying, because it's all like our intentions are coming through with what you're saying about it being grounded and the legitimate, universe, and also just the catharsis of being able to work on something in this moment in time. And so to be able to explore some of the underlying influences that are creating that challenging sort of environment that we're all just sort of living with under the surface, and being able to shine a light on some of those things. And I always joke that Eric Kripke's Nostradamus, because it's like actually insane how like 2 years before things happen, we're like, actually airing an episode that has to do specifically with what's happening in the world. Like, it's nuts. By exploring those things in the way that we do, what's great about The Boys is that it's actually a hopeful show. And at the end of the day, like, what Michael and I have been tasked to do is character development, whether they're a superhero or a boy or like, it's character development. And each one of these characters have been so richly fleshed out. It gives us so much to work with, and it's cathartic for us to be able to create these characters that aren't all good or bad. Like, even like some of the episodes where you see the backstory of why they are who they are, I get chills thinking about it, because it's really giving the audience an opportunity to explore a lot of dark places.
I also love Huey, that kind of hopeful character. And it was very interesting because, I binged. So I started with the pilot and, in a short period of time went all the way to season 5. And I got to see the people also changing. It's very interesting, what happened to his clothes from when you started in the pilot to the end, and who has he become. That's really cool too. It's the real world and the real people and what happened to them and how they've changed. That was a really beautiful, I think, kind of a transformation for him as well. And he's just become cooler and he's more himself, and he trusts himself, and you can tell with the clothes that the choices he makes. Oh, look at that.
Oh, Erin was so excited.
To
She
be
was
pregnant.
so excited for that. Yes, for that fitting. I was like, okay, we got to take it off now. She's like, no, no, no.
And her character too, I mean, the firecracker, how she comes in and that her homemade suit, and then she gets
I have missed her being a superhero the last few seasons. Mikey's had all the fun
And
with.
I've loved just having Erin.
also, change into a woman. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, I saw her recently, when we were doing a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and we were commiserating, about early days and, getting her in her first suit, and then this, Starlight 2.0. And she said to me, I look back and it's so funny to me that I thought I was fully baked, and I just think about her saying that because she was a kid. I mean, she was a kid when we started this show. And it's been cool to watch what Mikey and she have done together with the character. I really enjoyed watching her be a little bit hardened this season, and the choices that you made to depict that, Michael, because then to land her on that picture we just saw a minute ago where she was in that bright yellow and she's pregnant. It's such a beautiful thing that she goes from what we see here to that. It's like the sun shining again.
The hope was back.
And what about the little yellow hint on her t-shirt?
She was doing Starlight her way. I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to be pregnant. I'm going to wear Crocs, but I'm still going to, go out there and help save the world.
Well, I think we'll all miss the characters,
We're in mourning. However, we didn't get to mourn long because we already have the first season of Vought Rising in the can, which is an origin story for Vought and how it came to be. And it's post-World War II. And Jensen Ackles, who plays Soldier Boy, and Aya Cash, who played Stormfront, are the stars of the show. The writing is so incredible, and I think the fans are going to be pretty stoked to have something new to sink their teeth into that has a relationship to the universe while just having its own visual voice because it's period. And with that came challenges for Michael and me to create superheroes with keeping in mind what was actually available to us in the time and how to create costumes that would still be, meaty and cool. And then for Michael to bring his dramatic sort of fashion forward eye to the rest of the world that we built. It's pretty cool stuff.
Smelling Mr. Emmy maybe too. That sounds very cool.
From your mouth to God's ears, going on back on wood right now.
I would be very excited. It was a heap of work.
Well, I'm so excited you guys are recognized because it's just such a beautiful artistic achievement, I think, on all level, you and the team and the showrunners and, everybody. I'm just so thrilled to get to talk to you. And
Thanks, Mona.
Well, thank you again, you guys. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.